I saw your name on there. Nice to meet you. Pleasure. Thank you. I'm excited to join you all.
You're gonna love it. It's fun.
Yep. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves.
Interesting. It's enlightening. It's all good.
Yes. Well, good.
have one of the retiring commissioners with us, and it appears we may not have her at this meeting. But before we go live on the air or recording, we want to invite Wes back. That's not that bad. He was so humble and said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have, you know, the...
You have to, Wes.
It's not a roast. You're safe. So enjoy your cupcakes. Wes, do you want to greet us in any way?
Thank you, guys. I think I said it when I was leaving, so I don't want to rehash it. But to the new commissioners, you each were picked because you were each individual talents.
Speak into the mic, sir.
Oh, okay, yeah. So for the new commissioners, for the new commissioners, welcome, and you each were handpicked because of your each unique talents to bring to the commission. And I think the commission, just keep pushing forward. I think this here commission is the commission to actually put HRC on the map. So. And good luck with it, and just don't be afraid to push for what's right. That's it.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you.
Any of the commissioners want parting words while he runs out?
Because he will.
He now is free to go. No, wait.
No, I'd just like to thank Wes for your many years of service, not only on the commission, but your involvement in the community across the board. It really does make a difference. And when we've got individuals that step up and really try to fulfill a positive role in the community, I've appreciated working with you on the commission in the short year that we had here. So wish you well in your retirement and to whatever next commission you maybe have service on. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Let's go.
I know I was not prepared, so I'm a little nervous, but I'll do the best I can.
Kevin, are you ready?
Okay.
Thank you.
It is 3:05, and I would like to call the meeting of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission to order. If I could get Commissioner Chandrasena to lead us in the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Commissioner Della Harte, if you could read the mission.
The mission statement of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Chandrasena? Present. Commissioner Chappell?
Here.
Commissioner Serralo?
Here.
Commissioner DeHarte?
Present.
Commissioner Gross? Gross.
The second sentence.
Sorry.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Holstein?
Present.
Commissioner Hunt? Unexcused. Commissioner Morgan?
Present.
Commissioner Randolph?
Present.
Student representatives? Not present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, posting of the agenda.
Do you want an
I'm
introduction?
gonna, yes,
And staff.
okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Introductions?
You want to start with the new people or the old people?
I think that we should start with the new people. Do you want to help me?
So
Thanks,
Nikki, if
Ron.
we could have you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about where you're coming from, and we'll come around the table and with the other two new commissioners, and then we'll have the returning commissioners.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Nikki Randolph. I'm coming from San Francisco. I've had a house here for 15 years, and then 3 years ago my partner and I moved here permanently. I love the city of Palm Springs, and I hope I can contribute.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hi. I guess since we're doing this for an audience. Hi, I'm Jim Gross. Trying to think where to start. I think I'll just talk about the city stuff I've been involved with. I do have a corporate background in banking, some 30 years. Talk to me offline about that if you want to hear about all of that. There's a whole other side to me, which I'll mention a little bit about here, which is I teach mindfulness meditation, and you'll hear about that here. But relevant to the city, let's talk about that since that's what we're here. I'm a former chair of the 1PS organization. It's not a commission, by the way. Some people get that confused. It's 1PS. Does everybody know what 1PS is?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm former chair there. I've also been treasurer on the Safe Schools Board. That's where I met Ron over there. And everybody knows what Safe Schools is, right? I'm sure, Ron, you've educated everybody, right? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure everybody does. And currently, some other work I'm doing, I call out at the Ironwood and Chuckwalla prisons twice a month, offering meditation services and restorative justice support for prisoners and victims who are going through that program. And lastly, it's been disrupted a little bit, but I think we're all happy, at least I feel very happy, we'll be able to move this forward. I've been offering meditation classes as well at Well in the Desert. And when the building issue came up, we lost our space, but guess what? We all know that there's now a space, so I'm looking forward to getting that restarted. That's the thumbnail.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, David Morgan. I'm also from San Francisco. Not recently, though. Was in Los Angeles and New York, but very excited to be back home in California. I've only been here since December 1st, so you got me beat. But many years I was excited to visit Palm Springs, and I always thought I'd love to live in Palm Springs. And last December 1st, I just flew out, packed up my stuff, and here I am. So I'm very excited to get active in the community and do what I can to help the citizens and city of Palm Springs.
My name is Sam Sciarallo, and I've been on the commission for just a little under a year now. I lived in Palm Springs for 12 years, and when I was up in Sacramento, I was on the Human Rights for Housing Commission up there for 7 years. So this is a good group of people to work with, and the commission fulfills, I think, a vital role, particularly in our diverse society here in Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley, and welcome to our new commissioners.
Oh, me next. I was planning I'd be last. My name's Christy Holstidge. I'm a local attorney. I do social justice and civil rights litigation, and I do social security disability and represent people who are disabled, serve a lot of clients who are at patients at DAP and other local agencies. So I've been on this commission for about a year with Sam. I also sit on the homelessness task force as well. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this experience, and we're so happy to have you new commissioners and look forward to all the work we can do together here.
Well, my name is Jyoska Chandrasena. I have been a resident of Palm Springs the last 23 years. I have been on the Human Rights Commission for the last 4 years. My advocacy has always been reaching out to people who have been disabled. I'm currently the counselor at the Braille Institute in Rancho Mirage. Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Jyoska. I think you want to go.
Oh, no, you, and then I'll
You
go
want
and go on.
me too? Okay. Hi, I'm Denise Chappelle. I have lived in Palm Springs for 29 years.
You get the award.
I got the award years ago. I'm a local school principal for kiddos who have special needs, and I have raised our kids here who are grown adults, and I am happy to have raised them here. I really enjoy Palm Springs.
And I'm Ron DeHart. This is first year, Indy, the first year on the commission with our other freshman commissioners. I've been involved in the communities in Palm Springs since 2005, and primarily all in the human rights arena, devoting my time and energy to different programs. And I was really excited to be able to look at service on the with the city in another capacity and coming on board to the commission, and looking forward to continuing that.
I'm Dale Cook with the City of Palm Springs. I'm the staff liaison, community development administrator. We're within the community development and economic development department. We have affordable housing, CDB, community development block grant programs, homelessness programs, and we have the responsibility of the Human Rights Commission. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Annie Rodriguez. I am also with the City of Palm Springs. I'm city staff. I also work with the Community and Economic Development Department. I am the staff liaison assistant. I am happy to serve both Dale and yourselves with anything that might come up. You might get a lot of emails from me. I do the commission's minutes and changes to those cities' webpage as far as the human rights with any changes that they want to see happen.
And also recently within our department, we have a new department head, and he's here present, and I'd like to introduce him for you. Jay?
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Annie, very much. Hello, commissioners. My name is Jay Verrata. I am new to the City of Palm Springs as its Director of Community and Economic Development. I look very much forward to working with all of you as time progresses. We'll see how much time we have. Hopefully it's a very long time together. Dale's done a great job of letting me know all the work the commission's doing, and I think it's exciting and fascinating, and I think it's work that the City of Palm Springs needs to have done. So hopefully together we can bring forward a lot of the important issues to our council, our community, and strive to make the improvements that are part of the mission of this group. So thank you again. I will be excusing myself soon, but I do thank you for having me over.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Sure. Hey, Jay, can you share just a little bit about what is it that the department does?
The department, it does a number of things, as Dale has spelled out, and we're venturing into areas that have to do with business attraction and expansion. Some of the industries that help drive Palm Springs, such as hotels, and you'll see on the City Council agendas, there will be hotel incentive programs that come forward to bolster the revenues for the city. But it is also involved with providing housing programs, outreach to educate the community through some of its, we are now taking on the Sustainability Commission also. So efforts to engage the community with those types of issues in sustainability, Again, affordable housing, economic development, and community development, an area we haven't really looked at that may fall into the purview of one or the other commissions is workforce development. That's something that as we bring in businesses in specific industries that are most likely to do well in the Palm Springs area, what are the job opportunities for local residents? So as we develop some of those, we hope to expand some of the activities that we're involved with.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure. Happy to answer other questions. Okay.
Thank you for being here, and please let us know. We want to help serve the city and the city staff. So if there are tasks or things, issues that you want us to look into,
Absolutely.
we'd be happy to help as much as possible and serve the city and help you achieve those goals.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
In accordance with the Brown Act, the agenda was posted Thursday, July 6th. At this time, there is no public comments.
So you go straight into approving minutes?
Yes. Okay, so there are copies of the minutes from the meeting that we had on June 12th. At this time, if we could have approval or questions or input.
I just have a question on, procedural question at this point. Is my presumption correct that the outgoing commission will vote to approve or otherwise deal with the minutes, since the rest of us were not on the commission for this meeting? In other words, I would plan to recuse myself since I was not on the commission.
Sure, and we have a quorum with the people who have been here, so yes, that's appropriate, yes. So the commissioners who have been here? Any questions, approval, motions?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
I second that motion.
Okay, thanks. So the minutes are approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Thank you. Okay, so on our items for discussion and or a vote, I think that today we are moving towards chair and vice chair selections. Okay, and I wanted to add that Jilska's going into, are you going into year 4?
Yes.
And I'm going into year 3. Okay, so at this time, do we have any nominations or people who just want to throw their hat in for chair?
I will throw my hat in.
That's good, because I was actually going to nominate you. Okay.
Can I nominate Denise Chappelle as chair?
I would rather pass on chair, I think, for the obvious reason. Usually I have an iPad too, and I type, and it takes a lot of time, and I don't want to take time away from the work that we have. And so I think for that piece, it would be better to have a person who can keep us on time. Okay, are there any other chair ideas, nominations? Okay, what about a vice
Well,
chair? Oh, wait.
acclamation.
Okay. We have to vote, an acclamation. Motions?
Motion's been made.
Motion's been made, okay.
All in favor of Ron being chair?
Oh, we're voting today.
Yes.
That's where I'm confused.
Again, I just want to ask procedurally now, now this is the new commission that's going to be voting here. Okay.
Right.
So it's your time.
What?
It's your time. You can vote.
We're ready to go.
Okay, so then we don't have to motion again, we just vote.
Correct. There was no other motions on the floor.
So all in favor of Ron as the chair commissioners, say aye.
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 Any not in favor? And any abstentions? Yes, we're good? Okay.
I'm sorry to be such a procedural whatever at this point, but did we get a second to that motion?
I think we're good. He just got his plate.
Don't waste time.
Okay, well,
So
I'm
his
hoping
question was, do we have a second?
do we have a second
motion
for the nomination? I don't remember there being a second.
So I threw my hat in the ring, and then she said she was going to nominate.
Right.
So
And then
So procedurally, that's correct. So I'll go ahead and second the nomination
That's where I was-
retroactively.
Oh,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
Very
So
good. Thank you.
there's your
You're right.
plate.
You're right, absolutely.
do you continue?
So I'll continue with this piece if you want, or whatever else you would like me to do for you. So then it's time to nominate a vice chair. And I'll put my hat out.
So I nominate Denise to continue to serve as this position as vice chair.
And is there anybody else?
I'll second the nomination.
Second? Okay.
I second the nomination, sir.
Okay, so we've got that. I have a plate, so I think we're okay there. So do you want to take over?
We need a vote.
We need a
We
vote.
need to vote on the motion.
Okay.
So all in favor of Denise serving as another second term as vice chair, please say aye.
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 Any opposition?
Thank
And
you.
no abstentions. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All
There
right,
you
go
go.
take on.
Okay.
Item B, 2016-17 budget closeout. Dale, you want to give us an update on this?
As from last month's meeting, we did join the State Organization for Human Relations. We were able to purchase the business cards. They have arrived. The September meeting, we will have the retreat, and those will be distributed, as well as some of the materials for this year's coming work plan. So the annual budget for the commission is $2,000. We were $5 short in depleting those funds.
Very good.
Yay.
Terrific.
All right, thank you. Moving into subcommittee reports, 8C, Lawrence Crosley Road designation. We set up a subcommittee during the last commission meeting, Commissioners Chappelle and Cirillo.
Right, and
Who would like to give the update?
Do you want? Me too, okay, and we have left that awaiting info on how we could assist council and what direction to take, but we've been in a holding.
I did follow up, and council, a part of this coming year's subcommittee assignments, took that up in discussion, and they affirmatively approved moving forward with their subcommittee. So I'm working through the city manager's office to be able to have a joint meeting of the 2 subcommittee members and the 2 council members, if appropriate. There has been some interest also raised in the 1PS about the possibility of some interjection of their participation, so we may also have a representative join us from their organization as well.
And the council's subcommittee, and I guess by cascade, if you will, in other words, falling into this group as it comes together, will be focused strictly on the Lawrence Crosley name change, or will it have a broader agenda?
The subcommittee that the council established had a broader agenda to possibly consider alternative recognitions. There was a survey that was completed of the 2 neighborhood groups that are impacted by this name change, and it was mixed views. So in working with PS1, there's a South 34th Street in the city, and which is the only numerical street number that we have in the city, and the thought was possibly to look at the renaming of that street. And fortunately, there are not commercial or residential addresses on that particular street. So the major concern initially was the changing of the name and how that may impact public service response, the confusion of a new designation. So it will be much broader.
I'm happy that the subcommittee is going to be able to meet with the city council subcommittee, because I am glad to see this is moving forward. As part of my thoughts about serving on the subcommittee, I actually researched, because I didn't know who Lawrence Crosley was, and found that he was the first African-American who actually designed the first golf course in Palm Springs, that he was very active with the Agua Caliente tribe here, and all the other wonderful things that he did. So I think that as we move forward with the city council and giving our thoughts, that certainly this is a man that deserves recognition in our community. We already have partial recognition, and it just seems like we're moving in the right direction. I was really impressed, though. I did not know who he was, and I think that's the goal of the discussion around this, is to make sure that people knew who he was. How we get there is, secondary, but I think this particular gentleman did so much for the city of Palm Springs in the 1920s when the country was segregated, that he absolutely deserves recognition, and I'm happy to see this moving forward on his behalf.
Yeah, suggestion going forward, actually, on the point of gathering more information, which I think is an excellent point. Trey Daniel, who maybe some of you already know, who's a resident in that area, is probably the chief cheerleader for which I think a very good cause. I certainly support it. But Trey's really got the history behind Lawrence Crosley down pat. And it might be worth maybe future agenda, asking him to come in and make a brief presentation and share the full breadth of his knowledge. He has the most knowledge of anybody I know.
Trey has spoke to the commission, and the commission had moved forward a couple of years ago.
It was a while back, so it could be good to have him come back, since we're still talking about this issue.
Well, I think the city council did discuss this at last week's meeting, right?
Yes.
And I think I encourage the subcommittee to please put the call in to Councilmember Fote and JR. It's already down the road. I think our action, I don't think we need to invest a lot of time and energy in it, because it's moving forward. So if we can, I think if we're able to put our endorsement, if that's what we're calling what we're doing right now, and that serves as a little nudge to keep it going down the road, I think that will be good. But it's already moving, and I think it's in the next step, you know, to continue to go forward. So I'm not sure it's something that that we do need to continue to invest time and energy in, because it's happening. So knock on wood, because it's taken quite some time to get there. So next we have the Retreat Subcommittee, Commissioners Chappelle, Cirillo, and Sandraseena. Who would like to give an update on that?
We were going to meet after today's meeting, right, to plan it?
I think we were. I forgot that. So yes, we're going to come together today.
So you're meeting after today's meeting?
Yes.
Sweet, all right. So anybody you want to give a brief overview of what happens for the new folks?
Yeah. I can? Okay. So we come together and we it is going to provide a clear picture of the purpose and our plan. I can't encourage you enough to talk to all of us, to any one of us here, to ask questions. The hardest part, I think, and we've all talked about this at one point, is to come in here and try to figure out the purpose and your role. And so when we come together in September, we're going to form our focus. We're going to talk about our subcommittees and what our plan is. We're going to plan our topics and come up with a calendar. And so that's a time that you're going to get a lot of clarity about how the year will go. But I can't encourage you enough to just ask questions, because we have lost people pretty quickly when they felt like they weren't being effective, or they weren't quite sure of what their role was here. I was one of those people. The first year, I couldn't quite figure out what I was supposed to do. I wanted to do a lot, but I didn't know what it was. And so the purpose of that day is to come together and plan and have a vision and a calendar and our purpose, and to get to know each other too.
Hopefully it's to give a little more clarity. We'll see if
It's a lot
if
of
we're successful
clarity
on that.
day. It'll be like the clouds will lift. You'll be like, okay, I got it.
Do we have a date and location yet?
We have a date.
September 11th?
And did we decide, and we're going to be, where are we going to be?
We'll be back at City Hall.
Okay.
So we're scheduled to return to our regular location, and that is our regular meeting time.
And we will probably go at least an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe.
Oh, I see. So in other words, it's not going to be an all-day meeting?
No.
No.
It's just a longer
version
meeting
of
on
a
our regular
It's
schedule.
going to give us
Gotcha.
the time to plan. They used to hold them on a half a day on a Saturday, but last year it was found that people prefer prefer to hold it like this. So we'll try that again.
And to just share a little additional history, so where we, for quite a few years, the commission really served a purpose of creating educational opportunities and inviting members from the community to come into the commission and brief on a variety of different topics and backgrounds. A lot of different topics were selected through the course of the year, and there was a general feeling that we're creating a sense of education, or we're delivering on this mission of educating, but we're educating people that are sitting around this table. All this effort and energy and asking people to come in and to share their organization's story and history really is falling on just a few ears and not the community as a whole. So we really were not achieving our mission of really helping to promote the diversity within the city of Palm Springs. So last year we shifted, we took that concept and shifted into picking 4 core areas or 3 core areas, and we focused on those core areas through the year, and then created at the end of addressing those core areas of homelessness, risk relations, or race relations, and
Human trafficking.
human trafficking. Once each one of those segments was done, then a report was to be put together and then submitted to council with our learnings. So we were able to share with City Council and provide any additional knowledge and education that we gained through that process. And I think that made that really helped shift us into the being more supportive of City Council and in a position to provide support to aid them in doing their job. And I hope to see as we go forward this year that we can take that model and step it up again and really try to focus on being more proactive, maybe from a legislative standpoint, and maybe pick a number of topics that after we have discussions with council on where can we really assist and provide support for the time and energy that we're bringing to this commission. And, so I think, maybe I will introduce the first topic, whether it's, we put it on the agenda for September, but a senior bill of rights. Many cities have them. The city of Palm Springs doesn't have one. But that's a great subject, and it's a great topic where, as a commission, we can address a legislative issue working closely with council, who can really bring something forward and affect our community overall, and work hand in hand with council. So, and that's just one idea. And I think, if we brainstorm after learning from council, where can we help them most? I think we'll find our time being better spent in the long run.
Topic that we've talked about a lot is that people can't get here at 3 o'clock on a Monday. And so we did have a meeting in October where we showed a film at the Palm Springs library, and it was pretty well attended, but part of our purpose was the educational piece, which is really important because we can't change anything if we don't educate. But it was also to try to get people in at a time that maybe they could come and learn about this mission, and that there are people out there trying to work in a collaborative fashion. So I would like us to think about one or two evening of events again, because too, as a person who had been honored with an award from this commission, that's the first way that I heard that it was even in our town.
Excellent. Okay, next we have Community Outreach Subcommittee, Commissioner Sandrasino.
My outreach has been with the CARE program, the Riverside CARE program on elder abuse. This is an issue that we need to address as Human Rights Commissioners. I have also some handouts to pass on as we make our commissioner comments. I did attend the RAP Foundation Economic Opportunity Network for Nonprofits. That was regarding the block grants that are going out. I'm advocating and collaborating with Stepping Stones to help our youth to finish their GED. So right now I have 3 students who are visually impaired who are furthering their education. So that has been my outreach for the last month.
Excellent, thank you. The Homelessness Task Force.
So we have some good news to report. I'm sure you've all heard that the Well in the Desert has opened the cooling center specifically for homeless people on 441 Kaye in Cilia. It was the conditional use permit was adopted by the City Council and approved. So I have some numbers for you for the first week of operation. These just came out from Well in the Desert. So they opened July 3rd, 2017. They had a grand opening, which was well attended. Well in the Desert also wants people to know that you can come by and do a tour at any time, and we want people in the community to come see the facility and see what it actually is. And so on the first day, 36 people came in for services and 23 people got showers. And so just in this first, it's actually not a full week, it's 6 days I just counted. 306 people total came in for services, and they gave 204 showers. And I know there was a man who came in who got a shower, and he said that he hadn't had an indoor shower in 2 years, and he was incredibly grateful. So you can just see from these numbers that it's an incredible community response and a huge need that they're serving there. So that's great news. Our homelessness task force hasn't met again, and we had met in June, and I reported about that meeting last month at this commission. And then our next meeting is August, but I believe that's when council is dark. So I don't think we have a date for that meeting. So I'll report back at our September meeting what happens over the summer. It's too bad that the task force is only meeting every other month. It would be nice to have some ongoing reporting as we go through the summer. So that's something I can bring up in my individual capacity or from our commission if we have any suggestions, or if there's any information you want to get, I can get that from the task force and report back.
What's the address of the cooling station?
441 South Kaye in Cilia.
The task force was to have an early August meeting, and there was some scheduling conflicts, as Christy said, that typically council and their meeting schedule is dark in August, but tentatively we have looked at a substitute date of August 24th.
Thank you. Dale knows. If I don't know, Dale knows. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that.
Ron, I just have
Yes.
one other little thing I would just add to your excellent report. Thank you, Christy. The other thing I have noticed, because I've been very active in trying to move this forward at Kaye and Cilia, so I'm very gratified by it. Perhaps most gratifying to me is there's been great community support from all the typical players. But a very important thing really turned at the Planning Commission meeting, where there was, I see Kristen, she was there, we were all there, where there was some opposition from local businesses, but what the turn, and I think it's a real important turn, is that the response back to those businesses was, how can we help you? And I was so impressed with that response. That was from Arlene in responding to folks who, quite frankly, were not fully supportive. It really changed the whole complexion of the issue. And now the Well is hearing from businesses in the area asking how they in turn can be helping to support the Well. So I'll call out the Palm House as one example that's top of mind to me. They are now recognizing what a positive difference it's making for their business, and so they're now calling on the Well to help them when they have occasional issues, as opposed to the old traditional way. So a lot of positive has happened with this beyond just the opening of the doors, which is big in its own way.
Yes, thank you. And for people who don't know, the Well in the Desert has Operation Well Assist, which assists businesses, and they'll actually come out and talk to people if there are homeless people on a site of a business, and the Well will go out and assist and try to bring people to the cooling center or other services. And the Well is also continuing doing mobile showers and all those other services. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So the Palm Springs Police Department LGBTQ community, it's not a task force, I don't know what that's called, committee maybe. I sit on that committee as well as Wes has been on the committee. The last meeting was an interesting meeting where we tried to focus. One of our core areas of emphasis with the police department is in their hiring practices, and trying to make sure that as we're hiring, and we've gone through this surge of hiring staffing, that staff is representative of our community overall. And that's so important, not just from a diversity standpoint, but from having representation both from male and female and LGBT and all members of our community being represented on the police department. And because we believe firmly that's progress begins, and we need to take those small steps forward. So a lot of encouragement there. Not a lot of outreach being done to some core areas, specifically talking to the LGBT community. So we asked that materials be provided, and we circulated them into the community to get out to different networks, so there's awareness that hiring is still taking place at various levels of quality and skill being required. And so that was one core area that we continue to focus on with the police department. And the other was on the police department enforcing the city's nudity ordinance that maybe didn't necessarily apply to a situation that had come up at an equality rally in the middle of June, and having conversations with the police department and here at the LGBTQ community or committee, the police department sent the ordinance with a request for review to the city attorney, and the city attorney had come back and suggested that that the police department not enforce the nudity ordinance as it currently is written, because it is really not something that could sustain itself in court today. It was written in the early 90s, and the vagueness with which it is written certainly would not apply to the situation that the officer was presenting it at the equality rally. So I guess it's a small win that the policy is, and officers starting last week were being directed to not enforce the nudity ordinance with the city of Palm Springs, which is good. We don't want police officers enforcing an ordinance that is not clear and that people do not understand, especially if it's not going to withstand itself in the court. And if a judge isn't going to support a police officer citation, we certainly don't want citizens and police officers butting heads against each other for no reason whatsoever. So that was a good meeting that we had, and we're dark for the next couple months, I think, so we won't be reporting until September or October. Next, we have press and social media. I thought we were we removing this one?
We
We
were,
talked about it.
but each time it's on there, I have new ideas. So if it's still on there, I'm gonna make suggestions.
So can we motion to take it off?
No, I mean, there was the concern of doing brochures,
Right.
flyers. That was the discussion, and we were going to concentrate on that during the retreat.
Okay.
So that's why it's still there. Now,
Sure.
if it should be renamed something else,
No, I think that's great, and let's leave it on and have that be on the agenda for the retreat, because it would be great, because we got some feedback as we went through the year about what we can and cannot do in terms of providing press releases or information about events that are from the city, right? We wanted to spread the word on social media about our events to increase attendance, and so we talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about it at the retreat so I can get feedback about the direction the commission wants to go on that.
Okay. And our student representatives, school's out, so I think that probably explains why our students aren't with us today. But for our new commissioners, the Human Rights Commission is the only commission in the city that has student representation. So we proudly boast the two students that normally participate as part of this body, and invite their voice to be heard at the table.
Can I ask if anyone knows, what are the terms of the two student representatives? Do you know when their term ends? Because one part of the conversation about changing the date, the time of our meetings, was that it was difficult for the students. And so I was wondering, maybe we can talk about that at the retreat as well, because...
Yeah, the schools choose their reps.
Each year?
Each year?
We have had people stay on for a couple years. But yes, that was a point of why we could not change the times of our meetings.
So that comes out of Janelle's office, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
Yes.
Janelle and I had talked about meeting maybe before or after, whatever you all think is best, about how to create actual, a committee to involve the student representatives, because we all haven't always had the best collaboration with them in terms of what they could actually do for our commission and how to work together. So we could meet before our retreat if you'd like. I can make that happen, and so we can get more information about if they're continuing on and all of that.
I think that would be worthwhile, especially
Okay.
since the
I'll do that.
September meeting is a regular meeting, and we
Sure.
would love to have, if it's a new student or two new students, that they're both participating in the meeting and the retreat.
I agree, and I think that was a problem. They weren't at our last retreat, at least when I was here, right? So we didn't really have their input in what they wanted to see the commission do in the year. So if we could get them there to participate, I think that would be better.
And I think too that what we keep coming back to is the participation.
And I think our students need to get what information they have here and go out into their schools and work with advocacy in their schools, which I don't see happening, and I would like to see more of our students taking part in that, because I think that's a very important reason why they are here. So we need to,
Well,
in our planning, we need to set them up in a way where they can also advocate in their schools.
I think that the question goes back to the purpose and this service. What is it? Because we don't have an idea what happens at the school, but the purpose and this service.
So what I got the feeling was, this is what the
Yes.
subcommittee's working on, is to put some meat on the bones and help give some guidance and define the role for the students, and maybe some, invite their participation on the, having a greater role.
Yes.
But also put some meat on the bones as to what do they do when they leave this room?
Yes.
And
The
maybe there's some
requirements.
ideas or suggestions that can be made to the student that they're able to be sharing within their local school, their experience at participating in the commission meetings.
Yes.
But I think we're looking for ideas there.
So-
And would it be possible to have at the high school and a Ray McCree, a sub-commission member for when the kiddos can attend because they're in school? So that their substitute can go back and bring the info and interact with their various clubs and their principals and.
Great. So if you have ideas about that, maybe you could email Dale or Annie, and then I'll make sure to meet with Commissioner Hunt before our retreat, and then we'll report back and we'll make some recommendations.
Excellent.
Also, I do think that the intent was to more formalize the program.
Right.
What I have read, that it was to be dealing with their curriculum, and a number of our students have been active in student government at the respective schools. So I believe it was more the intent of having, as Ron said, some substance to it, and be able to follow up and make sure that they're engaged and active.
Might I ask, for the representatives that are chosen for the commission, they're just individually chosen by the school, or is it, I was thinking about involving student government, where it's not just them coming to listen at the meeting, but then going back to the student council and reporting to all their representatives, because there's so many different offices for each grade, I would assume. And that's a way of maybe involving everybody in the school, instead of just one representative that comes and tells us what's happening at their school, but also a way of them knowing what's happening here at the HRC as well.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion, and I think that's one of the questions swirling around this program that just hasn't been formalized yet.
It could be good too to toss around the possibility, and I don't even know if this is possible, but to do an interview process with candidates, so that they aren't chosen for whatever reason.
Yes.
But
Right.
it's somebody who really wants to do it, who has a vision for why they want to do it, because then you get the buy-in.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's important.
I will
that would have to be
incorporate all
announced.
those.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that's something that maybe we should announce at the schools then. So it's not just somebody that's selected by the principal or whoever, that it's kind of like an active participant. They want to be a part of it. They have some ideas,
Well,
as you said.
just like everybody here had to apply and interview. It just would be a way, over the years, we've had people who were appointed but never came. That's happened a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the spot then is empty all year, and that doesn't help anybody at the schools.
Yeah.
Well, what about in my high school? We had a student body school board representative, and so they went to all the school board meetings for the town, and they actually had to report back to student government. I don't know if the schools would be interested in actually, because I would imagine in September, school's back and they're having elections for their offices. So maybe it's something that they would do as far as a new election for a new position.
Well, and there are the ASB clubs and clubs with a purpose and clubs with a cause, so it'd be great to involve an advisor.
Yes.
So a lot of good ideas. So I think, Christy, you got a lot to go with, and it sounds like David may want to be another committee member.
Thank you. I was
on
just going to ask
your
that. Would you like to join
subcommittee.
our subcommittee? Great.
But that's all good. Thank you. So item D, topical newsworthy items. Do we have anything around the room? Dale, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. Going to attending the elder abuse conference, I hurriedly wrote a list of things that are affecting our communities and people I actually work with. So I'm just going to pass this around. There are 2 typos, please forgive me for that. But these are issues that are happening in our community, and I just wanted to bring it out and share it with my commissioners on elder abuse. These are good topics probably for our next year.
And
Excellent items to be looked at for the Senior Bill of Rights.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Any other topical or newsworthy items? Okay, we're good to go there. Student comments, none present. Commissioner comments?
I have none.
Nothing. Next. Sweet.
Well, I just would again like to welcome our new commissioners, and so that's that.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Well, I don't know that it's a comment so much as a question for the upcoming September meeting and retreat. Is there, let's see, Ron, are you going to form a group to put together the retreat citing the agenda?
Yes, so there's a subcommittee, this retreat subcommittee, that's they're tasked with with getting that organized.
And that's going to start today after, if you would like to stay behind and we'll work for a bit. And anybody who wants to stay behind, since you weren't here to raise your hand originally, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
We have cupcakes.
No other comments?
I just may say, I think this is an amazing opportunity for all of us. We all have such different backgrounds. We know so many different people. So I have a lot of marketing ideas that possibly at the retreat in September that I like to discuss with you. Very cheap, very easy. But one thing that a friend told me, a politician from back in San Francisco, I told him that I had this opportunity and I was very excited, and the advice that he gave to me made a lot of common sense. He said, read our HRC website, read our minutes. And it gave me the idea to think that I know Palm Springs is very unique. We don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing, but it would be fun for us to be aware of all the other cities, not all of them, but a lot of them. And maybe if we could do some sort of a awareness or report, I don't want it to be too structured, but if we knew different things that were happening in different communities across the United States, some things might be beneficial to us, other things maybe not. But I don't know if that would fit somewhere in the structured agenda, or it's something that we'd want to pick a city each, and maybe each meeting, just a 5-minute, 2-minute recap to say Seattle's doing this, or Chicago's doing that. I don't know if any of you'd be interested, just a thought.
And that's a good thought. We just joined an organization of human rights commissions or committees in the United States. So we just joined that association last month, yeah? Right. So I think it certainly will be a source that we can be learning from and bringing that information forward.
Yeah. Another potential source from the 1PS side of the house, maybe some of you know that 1PS is becoming increasingly involved with an organization called NUSA, which stands for Neighborhoods USA. And that's a gathering of they come together once a year in a big whoop-de-doo annual convention of city neighborhood organizations where a lot of these very topics come up. So basically what that means, I was not part of the delegation this year, but we do have the delegation at 1PS who's come back with a boatload of insights from other cities, much to your point. And so that might also be another resource to plug in there, is to maybe ask them to guest or otherwise harvest the information that they have there related to those human rights activities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, well, Palm Springs is actually going to be the host. It was just announced.
2019.
2019?
Yeah.
So that'll be a big deal. And I think it'll be a big deal looking forward for this commission, how we interrelate with them.
Okay, no further commissioner comments. I've got some. There was an update on the website, new photographs. Those went up. I think that looks really nice. Thank you for being able to get that taken care of. And much appreciation to Dale for organizing the little tribute to Wes. Thank you for putting that together. Staff comments.
As Ron said, the commission recently joined the California Association of Human Relations Organizations, and it gives us an opportunity to network, and like you had said, ideas that could be replicated right here. So that'll give us an in to see how other cities are interacting and what we can be able to improve upon. Also, too, to Jim's point about 1PS, we do receive complaints of concerns, possible mediation, but of recent days, it has been more discrimination and outright hate messages. And I did turn to PS1 and the staff, as well as the individual neighborhood organizations and their leadership, joining with the police department and addressing a couple issues. So you do have interactions, and you know, when everyone knows what's going on, it creates a better community, and you're not going alone, and the numbers are greater. So we are having those types of interactions. A lot of the time, individuals don't wish for their complaint to be made public, but we do make contact and ask if they would want to mediate with the other party. And too often, there's not a receptiveness. So the only alternative they have is if there's a network of people that can kind of be supportive. So you've served in that capacity. This past year, you've been pretty active in having public presentations, participating in parades and exhibits, but there was definitely a need to maybe strengthen your outreach materials. And that's what Sam had some suggestions, that we can, you know, have some brochures that we can readily make available when you set up your exhibits and be able to share with the public. So we'll be discussing that in much greater detail at the retreat.
Part of that, too, is that the paperwork that we had and the pamphlets that we had, some of them were getting older. Our most popular one was always on elder abuse. And so if we can keep those things up to date, and I think that's where talking to other HRCs will give us an idea of perhaps what is out there, so that we can get it kind of freshened up, because at the picnic, our table is always really, really busy, or at the Transgender Day of Remembrance, it's really busy. Yeah.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you. So any agenda items that we want to put on for our September meeting? Anybody have anything that they want to bring forward for the agenda of the meeting, other than we'll be focusing on retreat issues and outcomes? Any new topics? So Dale, do we need to list if we are wanting, or we would want to bring forward a new subcommittee, like the Senior Bill of Rights, and this, I think we need somebody who's in charge, or I'd like to see somebody who's in charge that, like Commissioner Hunt coordinated parade participation. I think if we're better planning the year on our participation in community events also, I wonder if maybe, is that the same person that can do that can coordinate parades and community neighborhood events? Do we add that as a topic item for the agenda, or is that just something we can bring forward on the agenda at the September meeting?
From just this past year, you began to identify topics of interest, and then at the retreat, you narrowed down, as you said earlier, there were 3 main topics that you focused on. So we can do pretty much the same thing. Basically, it got you to a work plan that you began focusing on key issues as well as the structure of the subcommittees.
Yeah.
So we'll get down into the weeds at the commission meeting, at the retreat, I'm sorry.
So on the agenda, we just need to list subcommittee assignments?
You listed them, but there weren't assignments at that time.
Right.
I think the direction you've given staff to identify all the activities that the commission is involved in, and then probably at that point, you can begin assigning or grouping some activities together.
Yeah, okay. But I just want to make sure we can move forward with our subcommittees. So is it as an agenda item next month, September, so we can move forward?
Correct.
With assignments? Okay.
Yes.
So I just didn't want to wait another month before we're assigning subcommittees. So as long as we can do that in September, it accomplishes what
I would even encourage you, those who have volunteered this past year, maybe reach out and see if they still or have interest to continue, or if you have other topics that you want to focus and you feel a commission member may have the type of skills that you're looking. Be aggressive as chair and tap them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Ron, I'm certainly all in favor of moving ahead expeditiously with the senior task force, absolutely. But I'm also thinking that what's going to come out of the discussion is we very well may identify either subcommittees that are past their fresh date or maybe need a fresh charter, or are areas that also we need to add such as what you're offering us today.
So I think I understand it, that on our agenda for September, we will have an item for discussion, and that is going to be the selection and assignments of subcommittees.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think that takes care of it.
I think the other thing for September, because the meeting is actually a retreat and not really a meeting, that the posted agenda, when the retreat subcommittee meets, we'll post an agenda, but I think that there will be other things that maybe come out of our discussions that we might want to pursue. And I think just because that particular item wasn't on the agenda doesn't mean that we can't pursue it, because it's a retreat more than a meeting. So in retreats, typically ideas just come out, of discussions there. So I think that will kind of give us a lot more latitude in what we can discuss and what comes out of the retreat as far as a planning document for the next year. But we'll have that latitude, I think, there. We're here, we know.
But for clarity, it is a formal meeting.
Yes.
So
right.
we have a formal meeting
First.
and then we go into retreat. So we do conduct business. That's just why I wanted to make sure we weren't going to lose a month on assigning the committees that we know we're going to have. And then the following month, what comes out of the retreat, we'll be able to address those in October.
Right.
So I just didn't want to lose that month on standing things that we know we're going to be addressing. But it is we do official business.
That's
and
true.
then we move into retreat. Okay, no other items to add for the agenda. Then it is 4:17 and our meeting for July 10th, 2017 is adjourned. Oh, we will not conduct a meeting in August. The commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting Monday, September 11, 2017 at 3 p.m. in the large conference room, City Hall, 3200 East Tahquitz Canyon Way, Palm Springs, California. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.